Welcome, everyone, to another interview for the 2025 and Beyond Summit. So excited to be here with Divine Harmony, who is an astrologer. And one of the things that I absolutely love that you do, Harmony, is that you bring the sky into what you're doing, because that is the piece that has been missing for eons of time. And that is something that is now coming back in such a great way. And when we think about our relationship to the sky, ancient people had such a great relationship. And in fact, you and I met in person at the Standing Stones in Scotland at the full moon, at the June solstice, at the out of bounds, most extreme, amazing. Just we got to be there in the energy of that together. And that was just so fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah, so I think you're going to share with us some other fun sky stuff. I'm really excited about Jupiter being with Sirius. I love Sirius, one of my favorite stars. So,
Oh.
gonna let hey.
All right, let me get my screen up. So let's see. Jupiter into Cancer, the greater benefic in the sign of the Great Mother. So I just made this image on Canva.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so for me, I have a deep connection to Egypt, and there's going to be Egyptian teachings in this talk. We'll get to that. And the center pyramid, I know everybody loves the Great Pyramid, but for me, the center pyramid is actually the most potent one. And you've got, Jupiter, the planet, with the Cancer glyph above what I call the Mother Pyramid. Um, and we'll be exploring some ancient Egyptian associations of Cancer and
I
Jupiter.
think the Great Pyramid is aligned to Sirius. There's a passageway or something that goes out. Yeah, are you going to talk about that?
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. No,
Oh,
I'm not.
okay.
But yeah,
All
there is.
right. Yeah. Yeah,
There's
so
a bunch of
they were tuned
stars that
in.
align.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
definitely tuned into Sirius for sure.
Oh my gosh. Hugely. So this year, and I'm not talking about this whole year, but I just want to put Jupiter moving into Cancer into context. I'm calling this year the year of baptism by water and fire. And I actually just titled my lunar insight for the full moon we just had in Cancer. I also called it baptism by water and fire because it was Cancer full moon square Eris in Aries. But there's like so much water and so much fire, and also so much omega point of the tropical zodiac 29 Pisces and Aries point 0 Aries. So this is just so you can kind of understand like the year ahead. We've got the North Node moving into Pisces this month in January, sorry. Depending on the node, maybe already happened or is coming, true and mean. Saturn and Neptune align with the North Node in Pisces. Venus will be retrograde in Pisces, but also Aries. The 29th degree of Pisces is going to be activated a ton by the North Node, by the Neptune station, by Venus, and others. Also Ceres, actually, the Great Mother. Jupiter moves into Cancer. So this is all water, 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 yin, yin. And then we have tons of fire. The North Node's at 0 Aries in January until it moves into 29, 30 Pisces. Saturn and Neptune ingress into Aries. Venus stations retrograde in Aries. So she goes back and forth and weaves between the two. And Chiron will be conjunct Eris actually this year. And then we also have the major lunar standstill. The moon will be max out of bounds on March 22nd. And the moon rules Cancer and is a watery, in its original essence, a watery body. So we have just so much water and so much fire, and they're often thought of as the alchemical elements of creation. The first primal yin is water, the first primal yang is fire. And this year has got both of them in spades. But I'm going to focus on Jupiter in Cancer. And I feel like this is going to be an incredibly auspicious and amazing transit. Jupiter actually moves into Cancer in June 9th, I believe it is. And full disclosure, my own Jupiter's in Cancer. So my own natal placement is going to be inspiring, what I share. I also made this image on Canva. I have fun with Canva. So just want to talk about some basic understanding first of Jupiter and Cancer and even the moon. So Jupiter is the greater benefic And benefic does connect etymologically to the, the word benevolent. The benefics are seen as positive and beneficial. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have shadow. In my opinion, everything has light and shadow, but they are beneficial. It's the largest planet in our solar system, continues to have a massive influence on the original creation of our solar system, but still continues to influence our solar system as we evolve. I call Jupiter the Santa Claus planet. And so he brings gifts, but also excess. Santa eats too many cookies, And he translates a lot of light to us here on Earth. And that was like the understanding of the ancients. They were called the benefics because Venus and Jupiter blow the stars out of the water. When you see them in their brilliancy, they look like stars, but they're moving, wandering planets. And it was thought that the light they shine came down to Earth. And so it translates the light of the benefics to us here down on Earth. And Jupiter also is a gatekeeper for our solar system. So he safeguards us from a lot of comet impacts. He can eat up asteroids and comets that come too close to us. Some people even call him like the vacuum cleaner of the solar system.
I
So
remember a few years ago that there were asteroids hitting Jupiter, and
yes.
they had images of that, and it was just like not a big deal to Jupiter, but if it had hit
Oh.
us, that would have been not a good thing. So I love that. Yeah.
So he's like the benevolent protector, of our planet, of Earth, of humans, of the animals, of all of us that are here. So Jupiter's meaning, just like in a natal chart or more mundanely, definitely connects to like abundance, financial, but also spiritual, otherwise expansion, success, growth, luck and gifts, even divine blessings. So for me, the way that I kind of play with Jupiter and Saturn are the two teachers, the guru planets. And Jupiter, I get this sense that he's where our gifts are, our blessings, but it's not like a silver spoon in the mouth. It's not like, oh, you just lucked out this time. I actually think our Jupiter was our Saturn in previous lifetimes, and we earned it with our own blood, sweat, and tears. And now in this life, it's just this place of ease where there's flow, where we're gifted, where we're lucky, but it's not random lucky. It's like we earned it. And then I kind of have this theory that our Saturn in this life, once we fully master it, will become our Jupiter placement in future lives. And so they teach us, but by very different energies. Saturn's more the taskmaster, Jupiter's more the Santa Claus.
Unless, of course, so if you think about the expansion of Jupiter and you have Jupiter like I do, conjunct Pluto in Leo, uh,
Mm.
uh, it's like expanding the Pluto aspect to the Jupiter and Leo. So it's taken me a very long time to work through my stuff to be even able to get to experiencing Jupiter and Leo. And I do now, but for a long time I didn't. So
Yeah.
sometimes aspects can also
For
influence that.
sure. And the outer planets can kind of take over, like Pluto is the slower moving one. So he can kind of like make Jupiter bow down to him. But yeah,
That's what it felt like for many years.
yeah. So Cancer, here you see the little Cancer crab, is the sign of the crab, also seen as a beetle in Egyptian myth, which I'll be showing images of in a little bit. It's a sign associated with the Divine Mother, the sign of the moon, a deeply feminine yin sign, a water sign, first of the water signs in tropical astrology, associated with fertility, emotion, intuition, nurturing, and nourishment. In Egyptian myth, they actually saw Cancer as a beetle called Kephara, and he was the deity of the rising sun. It was the scarab beetle. And when you go to Egypt, you see, every place you go where you can buy little trinkets, there's like tons of scarab beetles, and they were seen as connected to Cancer, representing creation and renewal of life. So the beetle, Kephara, the scarab beetle, represented how we come into existence, being born, and it was connected to the sun. And the sun was seen as being born out of the womb of the Great Mother. But then the sun also will die and go back into the heart womb of the mother and then be reborn again. So the beetle was a symbol, Cancer beetle, crab, was a symbol of resurrection. And actually, beetles go through many life stages, like a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. So there was also that like transformation aspect. So you could actually see this cycle in the sun in 24 hours. Sun rises, reaches for the highest light, sets, appears to die, but oh yay, it comes back next morning, you know. But you can see it also in the solar cycle, a year, winter solstice to summer solstice to the dark of the sun, Samhain, and then the rebirth of the sun. And you can also see this in the 26,000 year age cycle. And even greater cycles that go beyond that, that are mind-boggling.
250 million year cycle.
I know. You start getting out there and you're like, whoa, I need to put my feet on the ground and remember where I am, come into my body. So one of the things I want to share in this is the difference between tropical and living sky. So tropical Western astrology is based on the seasons. So the whole way that the signs are laid out, they're correlated with the seasonal points. 0 Aries is spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. In the southern, that's actually your fall. 0 Cancer is the summer solstice, the highest point of the sun, and then 0 Libra, autumnal equinox, fall, and then 0 Capricorn, winter solstice. And those are all from the northern hemisphere. So if you live in the southern hemisphere, they're reversed. And so the living sky, though, is different. The living sky is the constellations. Tropical astrology is the signs that are loosely, connected to the constellations. But the living sky is chaotic and wild. And it's not evenly divided into 30 degrees, 12 little pie slices. Like the sun moves through Virgo about 45, 46 days. The sun moves through Scorpio 8 or 9 days. And yet we're told the sun is in Scorpio and in Sagittarius and in Capricorn for, the same amount of time throughout the year in tropical astrology. But that's not the case with the living sky. And so Jupiter, when it moves into 0 Cancer, June 9th, it will be Cancer and tropical, but actually it will be heading into Gemini in the living sky. And it won't actually get to living sky Cancer until the following summer.
Something
And
you might appreciate, and you might know, I don't know, but Rudolf Steiner, when he started his school way back when,
I love
he
him.
he said his thing was to name the constellations a different name. So because otherwise it's confusing. So when Jupiter moves into Cancer, the seasonal sign, and it's at the feet of the twins, instead of saying Gemini, you say the twins.
Okay.
Instead of saying Cancer, you say the crab. Instead of saying the lion, Leo, you say the lion. So giving it their opposite name because that reduces the confusion 1,000%. Because
Yeah,
otherwise people are just like,
moving
I
moving
can't.
into the crab instead of moving into Cancer.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that once before, probably from you. I think you might have even said this to me in Scotland. I'm remembering it, so it came from somewhere, but what I didn't know is that was associated with Rudolf Steiner. I
Yeah, he
didn't know that
started that
part.
back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it hasn't really caught on, but for me it makes so much sense. So I always refer to the constellations by their other name and the seasons, Aries, Cancer, because that's actually something astrologers and astronomers agree on. 0 Aries is the equinox point. 0
Yeah,
Cancer is the solstice point.
yeah.
So they agree on that. So it makes it easier to just leave those names the same and then just call the constellations by the other name that,
I like that.
yeah.
That
And
and
what
it
happened, something just to know is what happened is the seasonal signs are always moving through the constellations, but they forgot. Takes a
yeah,
couple thousand years for it to move through a whole constellation. And so they named them the same names, and that's why we're stuck with that now. So
yeah.
if we recognize that there's a difference and call them a different name, then that helps people to grasp it
Yeah,
better.
to
Yeah.
differentiate. And then I also think really looking at the sky helps you grasp it too,
Oh, yeah.
like because a lot of times as astrologers, we're looking at charts, we're looking at a computer, we're in our head thinking about things, but we're not necessarily out there looking up. And that experience, I mean, from a Vedic perspective, they actually say there's something called Tritaka, where you can like meditate on something. So meditate on a candle flame or meditate on your own eyes in the mirror. And you can do like a Tritaka meditation with the stars and the planets. And
Yes.
they're seen as divine beings. So it's actually like an experience of being in the presence of the divine when you go out and you look up at night,
Right.
during the day too. I mean, the sun is out and I saw the moon this morning.
Yeah.
So,
I love
yeah,
that, and that's a practice that was probably done in the past, and why they built standing stone circles and pyramids and all the different kinds of sites that were tracking different cycles and different ways um, that time things change over time, and they were tracking that. They were so attuned to it, and they were getting the insights and information directly from the stars and the sky and all of that, not from a chart on paper.
yeah, you know. Yes. So here is a picture of Jupiter. Mercury's over there too, but this is the moment Jupiter moves into tropical Cancer. And it's June 9th, 2025. I think it's like 5:02. Oh, well, that's UTC. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to say the time right now. But it is on June 9th. And oh, oops. Here, we'll go back. Here's Cancer.
Or the
Here's Gemini.
or the twins.
Or the twins. Yeah, the twins and the crab. And Jupiter is nowhere near Cancer, the crab, but Jupiter's moving into Cancer because that is the solstice point. So the solstice point is this crossing of the ecliptic, which is the sun's path. And also all the planets are pretty much on the ecliptic. Sometimes they go out of bounds, and then the crossing point of that with the galactic equator. So there's two crossing points of the ecliptic and the galactic equator. The other one would be where the galactic center is. And this is the galactic edge, at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. And I know a lot of people like to focus on the galactic center, and it's amazing. I mean, it's the center of our massive Milky Way galaxy. But the galactic edge is where we can see beyond ourselves. We can see what else is out there, even bigger or greater than our own galaxy. And the galactic edge is very magical, actually. So we've got Jupiter crossing the galactic edge, moving into zero Cancer tropical, but actually just heading into Gemini. And so, I wrote that here. It'll pass the anti-galactic center, also called the Silver Gateway at the edge of the galaxy. We'll cross the Aries point. We'll head into Gemini, won't really get into Cancer or the crab. The twins and the crab won't
Right.
get into the crab until next summer, actually. June, July, it's transitioning between the two, but August is when it's like right smack in the middle of the constellation.
I think
So I want to talk about, so what I'm sharing, oh, did you have something to say? Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, I think currently the crab is overlaid by Leo,
Yes,
all the way up to the head of the lion. It's again, if people have things at certain degrees, they think it might be in the lion, but it's actually in the crab. Or if they
yep,
have if they have anything like your Jupiter is probably in the twins,
yes,
not
it
yeah,
is.
not in the crab.
No, the funny thing is I'm Cancer Sun, Pisces Moon, Pisces Rising, but in Living Sky, I'm Gemini Sun, Aquarius Moon, Aquarius Rising. They're all in the one before.
Right.
Water,
And
water, water.
that's probably true for a lot of us because I have
Yeah.
something similar, but if instead of calling it, so your son was in um Gemini, you said?
Well, my sun is in Cancer, the sun,
Cancer.
but it's
Okay.
in the
It's in the
twins
twins. Yeah,
constellation.
it's in the
Yeah.
twins constellation. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
So what I'm going to share here comes actually from a course I taught. It's called Stargate Mystery School, and it was like a whole year and a day moving through the stellar gateways, learning about the differences between tropical and living sky, but also talking about the modern myths, Greek and Roman, but also talking about what was there before Greek and Roman came in and kind of changed some of the mythos, and definitely definitely applied a more patriarchal viewpoint to the living sky, because a lot of the myths that are Greek and Roman are very much based on a male hero, dominant, winning, killing, slaying, saving the victim woman, you know, all that. There were things that were there before. So Gemini we're told is the twins, right? And you can see it over here. It's Castor on the right, Pollux on the left. And we're contemporarily told that they're twin brothers. Castor was mortal, Pollux was immortal, and they would, you know, adventure with Jason and the Argonauts. And essentially, Castor died in battle, and Pollux begged Zeus to bring him back, and he only agreed if they would spend half their time on Earth and half their time in heaven, which represents seeing them in the winter and them not being visible in the summer. And so it's, you know, that is part of the embedding of the myth. But in Egypt, they were actually seen as a woman and a man. And in Sanskrit, they were seen as a woman and a man. And even the version where they're deities, because sometimes they're seen as Apollo and Hercules, there are thoughts that actually before that they were Apollo and Artemis, who were twins. One's a boy, one's a girl, you know, one's of the sun, one's of the moon. So the myth of the twins symbolizes the yin yang symbol, you know, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the immortal and the mortal, the heavenly and earthly, represents duality, but also represents union, which you can see in the Lover's card in tarot, which is literally the Gemini card. And so the hidden, or the ancient, sorry, not hidden, the ancient understanding of the twins is one was female, one was male. And the female actually was the immortal one, and the male was immortal. And the reason for that is the feminine in all of us is our spirit, our soul, our heart, and that is immortal. And the masculine in all of us is our mind and our ego and our will, and that is mortal. And he, you know, you see him leading her here, and it kind of, you might think, oh, he's in charge. Actually, he's her guardian. So the sacred role of the divine masculine was to be the protector of the feminine, so that she could walk the earth unharmed, as the Cherokee prophecy says, but also that she could open up to receive the inspiration from the universe that she's a channel for, and he would guard her and protect her so she wouldn't be harmed and she could do what she was supposed to do. And so that is what he's doing. He's holding her hand, but he's actually like a knight or a guard protecting her and leading in that way, not leading like he's in charge of her and she's
Telling her where to go.
yeah. Exactly.
Don't tell
So
me where to go.
here we have Castor and Pollux, and you can see it on the left, beautiful stars, and then on the right. And Castor is the mortal one associated with Apollo, and Pollux is the immortal one associated with Hercules, but also anciently Artemis. They both have to do with creativity. It's interesting. Solar Fire says Castor is to write or create. And writing makes me think of the mind, you know, because it's words. We had to put words onto paper and use our minds to make it make sense. Whereas the Pollux star has to just do with the pain of creativity. And that makes me think of the process of giving birth, you know, like, which is the feminine star and the immortal one. So the moon is, you know, the ruler of Cancer. And this is a quote from Liz Green, who is one of my favorite astrologers from England. She's actually how I got into astrology. I read everything she ever wrote, devoured it. I have her whole library of books. And I wanted to go to London and go to her school, but that didn't happen. So this is a quote about the moon. The moon is a symbol of that aspect of the psyche which contains and supports life. It's also an image of mother, who is our physical container during pregnancy and our psychic container during childhood. So moon as mother, as the vessel, as the container, as the womb, as the, you know, field of energy that mother holds for her children, the great mother as well as personal. So the moon is mother, the feminine principle. The moon's tied to the tides of the oceans and the menstrual cycles of women, although that tends to be getting thrown off lately a lot, it seems, because we have so much interference and false light. Anciently, Egypt actually saw the moon as masculine, and even Earth. Earth was Geb, and the moon was connected to Thoth. but they actually saw most of the planets as masculine. A couple had feminine energies, but everything else in the heavens was feminine.
Snoot, goddess Snoot. She was
She was
the
the mother. Yeah.
mother.
And we have a picture of her on another slide.
Oh, good.
So here's Cancer again. So the Cancer constellation from Stargate Mystery School. So the modern myth is that Zeus cheated on Hera, which he was always doing. And the result of the affair was Heracles, and Hera hated him and wanted him dead. So while he was trying to fight the Hydra, she sent a crab to pinch, and it pinched him, but he crushed it by stepping on it. And then she, put the crab in the sky to honor its sacrifice. And Cancer is Latin for crab. It's the least bright constellation on the ecliptic, the darkest part of the sky. It's actually called the dark sign, and which to me is evocative of the womb of the Great Mother, which we would conceive of as being dark because it's inside our body. The Egyptians saw it as a scarab beetle, as I mentioned, the symbol of rebirth and resurrection, and associated with goddess energies as well. And the star names. So when you look at the etymology of the star names and find some of the hidden threads, several of these star names, like Praesepe means Latin for manger, stable, pen, offspring, or multitude. And then we have Acubens, the claw, the sheltering or hiding place. We have Tegmine, the shell of the crab or holding. And then we have Altarf, which is Arabic for the end or the edge, which makes me think of the galactic edge that's over in this area nearby. And so we've got a lot of symbols of holding, of manger, something that holds like a cup or a womb, offspring, stars are actually born here, sheltering place, hiding place, which is a womb symbol energy, but also makes me think of Jesus being born in a manger, being hidden. So there's a lot of this womb, mother, manger symbolism. And then Praesep, am I pronouncing that right?
I don't know. I think I say Presepi, but
Praesepe.
I don't know that that's right.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's so interesting because there's some languages that I can just say the word and I know exactly how to pronounce it, even though I don't speak it in probably past life. And then there's other ones where I'm like, how do you say it? Anyhow, it's like right over here, kind of where the letter A is in Cancer. It's M44. It's known as the Beehive Nebula. And bees are very connected to the divine feminine and the divine mother. And this is the star that means manger, stable, pen, or offspring, multitude. And it's one of the closest star clusters to Earth with 1,000 stars. And it's also sometimes anciently referred to as little mist, little cloud, cloudy one, or nebula nebulosa, which is like the veiled one, which is that's a symbol of the divine feminine. You see her veiled, there's the veiled one, the ancient mother. And so we've got this womb manger of the divine mother kind of energy where new life and new stars are born associated with this constellation. Now, keep in mind, Jupiter won't get there until next year, but those essences can still be associated with the Cancer part of the sky. That's the first month of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. So there's a little crab. So this is the Thema Mundi, the chart of the creation of the world. The chart of existence. It's the theoretical chart of the moment that everything came into existence. And this is what it is thought to be. And the 7 visible planets are all in signs they rule, starting with not the sun, but the moon in Cancer, sun in Leo, Mercury in Virgo, Venus in Libra, Mars in Scorpio, Jupiter in Sag, Saturn in Capricorn. And notice that both the moon and the rising are Cancer. And it's 15 Cancer, by the way. So it's the exaltation degree of Jupiter, implying that Cancer is the first sign with the moon on the ascendant, the mother, the divine feminine, leading, birthing everything into existence, makes complete sense. And then ascendant, you know, in a natal chart is the moment of birth. You take your first breath. So on the ascendant, the moment of birth out of the womb of the mother, the moon is the baby world is being born. So 15 Cancer is really important. And we'll be looking at
More
that.
ways than one, right?
Say it again.
In more ways than
In
one.
more ways than one, yes. So this is the Dendera zodiac ceiling, and I know it's not like the best, but it's got color coding, so it makes it a little easier to explain some things. This is a ceiling in the Dendera temple in Egypt, but actually it's not there. They took it out, and it's in a museum now, which is a real big bummer. But technically, they say the chart is supposed to be the planets and all their signs of exaltation, but the moon is actually showing in Pisces. So here's the sun right next to Aries, the ram, but also next to a fish. And this is the moon, Pisces. So the sun and moon are in Aries and Pisces. Moon is the only one that's not showing an exaltation. Mercury is in Virgo. So this is Mercury, and here's Virgo, the Virgin. This is Saturn and Libra, and that's the exaltation. This is Venus next to Pisces, Mars standing on Capricornus, and here's Jupiter right by Cancer. And these are supposed to be showing the exaltations. Now, keep in mind, this was made in like 50 BC, so this is when the ancient Egyptian astrology and even, you know, the influence of Arabic was getting very influenced by the Greek and the Roman. And so there's a lot of weaving of the two together in the Dendera temple with the astrology panels and ceiling. So now I'm going to show you the panels. So there's this one place where you can see the ceiling, but like I said, they removed it. All you see is like this black circle with some lumps on it, but it's hard to tell. But then in the hypostyle halls, like you look up, and actually after being there for a while, your neck starts to hurt because you just, like whenever I'm there, I'm like, I just want to lay on the floor and look up because keeping my head up that long is, you know, anyhow. So there are the night signs and the day signs, and these are the night signs, and this is hard to see, but that's like the sea goat with the little tail, Capricornus, Sag, Scorpius, Libra, Virgo, Leo standing on Hydra. Of course, there's a lot of other things in here, and then there's a question mark. Is that a Fucus? There's a few things he has coded here that I don't think are accurate, in my opinion, based on my studies, but I'm not getting into that right now. So we go from Capricornus to Leo, and you can see that they're all going to the right. This is the body of the great Mother Nut, the cosmic mother. And the sun, you know, that you see that they're all facing but going backwards through the signs, right? So the sun, when the sun moves and the planets, they go forward through the signs unless they're appearing backwards through retrograde. But the ages go backwards. And the Dendera zodiac panels is really talking a lot about the ages. So that's why they're facing that way, going backwards. And it says here Cancer ascending, but for me, it's actually descending when it's about the ages. It's only ascending when it's moving forward like the sun does. So what we can see, though, is Cancer is over here by the womb of the Great Mother. This is the crab beetle. And then the sun comes out of her mouth, but it's hard to see here. I have another picture. But this is also a winged beetle that's behind her breast in her heart. So the winged beetle, Cancer crab, is always seen as coming into or out of her womb or her heart and transforms into the sun itself that then gets, you know, comes out of her mouth or goes back into her mouth. So these are the night signs. Here's the day signs, and it's also going backwards. Cancer is the crab here coming out of her legs, womb. The sun is shining from her womb. Obviously, she's very stretched out, but this is supposed to be her womb. And we go Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, and then we've got other, you know, constellations there and planets and whatnot. So if you recall in the previous panel, it went Capricorn to Leo backwards, mirroring the ages. This one is going on the panel, is going from Gemini to Aquarius. The only constellation or sign, however you want to call it, that's not showing in the lineup is Cancer, the crab or the beetle. It's always shown as in her heart or going into and coming out of her womb. So Cancer is standing out in this way, and it's deeply connected to the heart womb of the mother. And so you can see this better here. So here's the winged, you see the winged scarab beetle in her heart, that's her breast. Here's the sun. Here, this is coming out of her mouth, going that way, that's Capricorn. This one's going into her mouth and down into her body. And then you can see the winged scarab is at her heart again. There's Pisces, there's Aquarius. People say this is Cygnus, but it actually looks like a goose to me. I think it's the ancient goose constellation that was connected to Geb, but anyhow, that's another talk. And here's Cancer the crab coming out of her legs, but the sun coming out of her womb. There's Sirius. That's the cow Sopdet with the Sirius star in her head. And then this is Leo was up here. So this is when Cancer the crab is going back, or the beetle is going back into her womb. So Cancer stands out, right? It's doing something different than every other sign or constellation that the sun goes through. So back to this image of the ceiling of Dendera, but without all the color coding. I want to trace the signs for you just so you can see them. So here's Aries. Aries goes to Taurus, Taurus to Gemini, up to Cancer, down to Leo. Here's Virgo, she's holding the frond, the Virgin, Libra, Scales, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Fishes, and then back to Aries. Even Cancer showing different on this too. Cancer is higher and is actually closer to the circumpolar stars, which are all these ones in the middle. Tauret is Draco, and the Big and Little Dipper in here. So Cancer, there's something special about Cancer, and you see it in the ceiling of Dendera. So back to a stellarium image, and this actually was a new insight that just came to me when I was preparing this. I just had this thought, because I already pay attention to the fact that Hydra, the head of Hydra goes right up to the bottom of Cancer. And Cancer, to me, the bottom of it looks like a yoni symbol, and it's like the serpent head is coming right up to the gateway of birth in the Cancer crab constellation. But I just thought to look at Draco, because Draco is above, Hydra is below. Well, the tail star of Draco, the center star of Cancer, and the furthest to the front head star of Hydra are all within a 2-degree orb of each other, and they're conjunct by declination. It's in tropical, it's 9 to 11 Leo. But literally the tail of the serpent dragon above and the head of the water serpent below line up with the gateway, the middle of Cancer. And both of these were seen as really important. Draco is circumpolar, never sets. Hydra, I have another slide. I have something to say about Hydra. And so I didn't realize, I knew the head star was connected to Cancer, but I never thought to look at the tail star of Draco. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's another alignment that I think the ancients paid attention to, and it was part of the importance of Cancer. The two serpents, the heavenly and the underworld, link up with Cancer. And here you can see at least the head of Hydra. So this star here links up with this star, and then it goes all the way up. You can't see it because I was trying to close up here. So here's all of Hydra. And Hydra is this female water serpent that runs from Cancer the crab all the way to almost the feet of Virgo, and is, of course, under the ecliptic. And the Cancer myth, and all of this actually, for me, is deeply associated with the Grail myth. So we've got the womb of the Grail mother, if you will, with Cancer. Cancer represents the Grail mother who births everything, births all of creation. Her womb is the cosmic, yoni-verse or universe. And it's from her we come into existence. It's to her we return. But Hydra the water serpent has Crater the cup, which is the grail, on its back, has ravens, which are often featured in grail myths, also has the ancient owl that we don't really talk about anymore, but was over there. And the head of Hydra connects to Cancer, the divine mother, but the tail of Hydra connects to Virgo, the other divine feminine, which is the virgin. So we've got the mother and the virgin being linked by this water serpent carrying the grail on its back. And then Leo the lion is in between, and that's like the sun is, you know, the S-U-N sun is the S-O-N son of the mother. But also anciently lions actually were associated with the goddess. So it might have been a female lion, and this might be 3 females. I don't know. So I find this visual representation of the Grail myth and the stars like really meaningful and evocative. So now I just want to talk about Sirius in Canis Major. So the modern myth is this is the dog that follows Orion, the hunter, and they're pursuing Lepus the hare, but they also might be pursuing the Pleiades because there's that story of Orion chasing them and they don't want to be chased. Also, it can be Laelaps, the fastest dog in the world who can catch anything. The Chinese myth, they called this the bow and arrow constellation. And there's actually ancient Babylonian constellation that was called the bow, and that Sirius is the arrow star. And there's actually a lot of stories that talk about Sirius as the arrow star. The Babylonians saw a goddess or maiden shooting an arrow from a bow into the midst of the ocean, the navel of the ocean, and the shooting arrow goddess would be shooting Sirius. So we've got, you know, virgin goddesses that we can think of that have bows and arrows, Neith, Net in Egyptian, Satet in Egyptian, Artemis, Diana. The etymology of these stars. So the Arabic meanings of these stars, 3 of them mean virgin. So there's like 3 virgins, which make me think of the triple goddess. One of them means the solitary ones. One of them means the herald, that's Merzum. It heralds the rising of Sirius. Sirius itself means glowing, scorching, searing, shining. But we see again like a virgin divine feminine association, even hidden in this constellation that we're told now is just some dog that follows Orion the hunter. But actually, it was likely following a female deity. And actually, may have been, she was probably pointing in the other direction if she's shooting the star and Sirius is the arrow. So she wasn't chasing the Pleiades. The Pleiades were following her.
I
So,
love the virgin piece because the original meaning of the word virgin was not a woman who had never had sex. The
yes.
meaning of the word virgin was a woman whole unto herself. She didn't need anybody. She was able to be completely independent and whole within herself. So that we could imagine that way back when that was why those stars were named that because it was looking at the feminine as being whole, not
Yeah.
meeting
And
men.
the virgin could also create by parthenogenesis. So
Yeah.
she could self-create within herself. Her own masculine and feminine poles were able to create and birth without external assistance.
Yes.
So Sirius, so one of the free gifts I'm giving is my Sirius Masterclass. So I'm not repeating very much from that because that, I mean, I cover a lot of territory in that, but I do just want to say this one piece that's important. I believe Sirius is the spiritual son of our sun. And there are many ancient cultures that believe that. There are, you know, there's some people who disagree with that, and that's fine. But even just looking at our aphelion and perihelion, when perihelion is when Earth is closest to the sun, as you can see. Aphelion, it's further from the sun. But the aphelion or the perihelion and the aphelion are both in alignment with the sun, but also Sirius. We just had perihelion January 4th. It says 3rd there, but it changes because of leap year. And that was at 14 Capricorn, opposite Sirius. And then the one that happens July 4th is the sun conjunct Sirius. And so Sirius being integrally connected to when we're closest and furthest from the sun, and this alignment is kind of one of the support. There's a few supporting factors, and I talk about it in the class about how this could be our parent star. That the way the sun provides light and life to us on Earth, Sirius provides spiritual life and light. And then there's a theory that the sun and Sirius cycle. So this is our sun and this is Sirius, and they kind of circle with each other in a Vesica Pisces kind of shape. And when they reach here and here is when they're closest, and it's when they say more cataclysms happen on the earth. But I also think there's something around consciousness. Actually, I know there's something around consciousness that's a part of it. So you can learn more in the masterclass. But one thing I want to say is they say Jupiter is of the nature of Mars, or sorry, they say Sirius is of the nature of Mars and Jupiter. But I have to say, I disagree. I think Sirius is of the nature of Venus and Jupiter. Sirius is a feminine star. It's a goddess in ancient Egypt. Jupiter and Venus are the two benefics. They're the most blessed. And actually, Sopdet is the original name of the goddess of Sirius. And Sahu is the god of Orion. And they had a child named Sopdu, and he was seen as Venus as the morning star. So there's already a tie-in to Venus. I don't think Mars is the right association personally. I think it's Venus.
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on- And also, you may going to talk about this, but the United States Declaration of Independence was created and signed when Sun was conjunct Sirius,
Yes.
and they did that on purpose.
Yep. Yep. Because they were
Yes.
magical, mystical people. So Sirius is currently, so the stars move slowly, 72 years for 1 degree. So we don't see a lot in our lifetime, but when a lot of astronomers, astrologers track things and record things, we can, learn about the greater changes. So Sirius is currently at 1425, but we'll head into 1426 Cancer this year. And that, remember, the exaltation degree of Jupiter is 15. And when we have star or degrees with minutes, we round up to the nearest whole degree. So 1426 would round up to 15. And not only is 15 Cancer, the degree of exaltation, it's also the degree of the Thema Mundi rising sign and moon sign and the creation of the world chart. So this summer, we don't just have Jupiter moving into Cancer, which is like really blessed and, sign of exaltation, sign of the Divine Mother, wonderful for fertility and compassion and, kindness and connection. It's actually very fertile transit too. Like if anybody's wanting to get pregnant, it's a high level of fertility if you're interested in that. If you're not interested in that, be careful because you're extra fertile. You can be, particularly if you're getting a hit by this, with something that correlates to pregnancy. But we're about to have Jupiter conjunct Sirius, August 13th, right during the heliacal rise period of Sirius. So the heliacal rise ranges, and I talk about it in the class and show you how to calculate it for wherever you live. Where I am in Asheville, our heliacal rise is 813, 814. In Egypt, it's actually 8-8, which is Lionsgate, which I know there's all these people, every time Lionsgate happens, it's not real, there's nothing, no correlation. Actually, currently, Sirius rises at Giza on 8-8. It's a current important period of time. It's like a modern gateway because it aligns with something in this now moment. But anyhow, so we're having Jupiter conjunct Sirius while Sirius rises again out of the underworld. And this is so incredibly profound. Here's a visual of the living sky on I didn't put anyhow, this is August 13th, looking east before the sun rises, and you see Jupiter, and it's aligning with Sirius. And no, it looks like it might not be aligning, but the way that the declination, the aspects are, is it goes like that. And also, you kind of see that Venus is there. So Jupiter and Venus are conjunct Sirius when Sirius heliacal rises this August.
I
And
love
I'm like,
that. So
wow.
cool.
I know how potent. I mean, it's like literally so, and because I think that these are the two nature, the nature of Sirius is of Venus and Jupiter, not Mars and Jupiter, and then we're having them both conjunct Sirius. While Sirius rises, it's just like phenomenal. This is a chart. I have it cast for where I live. I live in Arden, which is just south of Asheville. But you see Jupiter and Venus, they're conjunct, they're rising before the sun. Jupiter will head to exact conjunction with Sirius during the day. It's not before the sun rises, but it's almost there. And it's incredibly benevolent. Um, so back to the ceiling one last time. Here's Sirius, the star. Here's Jupiter, Cancer. And literally, we've got something showing on the ceiling of Dendera from 2,000 years ago that is exact right now. Like
Wow.
it's almost like that was a prophecy because Sirius aligning with Jupiter with Cancer is something that's happening now and over the next 40 years. Well, even more if you extend the orb out, but like it'll hit 15 Cancer. Oh, I thought I wrote the date down. It's in 40 years. So I think it was like 2062 or something like that. Maybe it was 2065 because I put 40 years. So I probably did the math. The other thing that I just want to say is that, as you mentioned, for the United States, we have Sun conjunct Sirius, but we also have Jupiter in Cancer. We have Jupiter conjunct Venus in the early degrees over by the solstice sun portal. And by progression, it's in mid-Cancer. And by progression, Jupiter has been retrograde in our chart of our country since 1905. And this July, Jupiter stations direct by progression in the chart of the United States.
That's
Stations direct, conjunct Sirius. So we're going to have, and Jupiter, rules our chart because it's a Sag rising chart is the one that I'm basing this on. We're a Sirius nation. We have our sun conjunct Sirius. July 4th is the aphelion, so the whole Earth, Sun, Sirius alignment. And so our country is about to come out of an underworld journey with our chart ruler that we've been on since 1905 and is going to come out in style, conjunct Sirius. And I'm really excited about it. I actually believe that we're going to have some profound turning points as a nation that are coming in the
I
next couple.
love this so much. So Jupiter, Sirius, and Venus
Mhm.
coming together in the literal sky, and then in the progress chart of the US coming together at this. Oh, it's just
At the
like,
same time, because the Jupiter will station direct at 15, I wrote it down, 1510 Cancer in the progress chart of the United States, and it will be in July. I have the date written in. I have a whole article on this. I have 2 articles about the astrology of America on my website, and this one is Transformation of a Nation Part 2. So if you go to my website, you can
that's
find it. But that the date I think is really like it might even be the 4th of July, to be honest. I wish I'd written it down, but it's in July. And then a month later is when we have the heliacal rise with Jupiter conjunct and Jupiter conjunct Sirius activating the Jupiter that just stationed direct in the United States chart. Like it's profound.
and so something that occurs to me is I always see Sirius as the wishing star because
Mhm.
the thing starlight, starbright, the first star I see tonight, it's always Sirius. It's going to be the first star you see, unless it's a planet like
Yes.
Jupiter or Venus. But Sirius will be the first star you see because it's the brightest star in our night sky.
Yep.
So, and so what wishing or focusing our attention, intention, our magical energy, our alignment with what's going on with, and it's also one of the Bohemian stars, meaning that whenever a planet is close within 6 degrees of that star, even though it's off the ecliptic, but then the power of that star is magnified. Jupiter's going to magnify it even more. Venus is also, oh my goodness, this is just like so
And at the
amazing.
degree of exaltation of Jupiter and at the degree of the ascendant and the moon in the creation of the existence of the world, I mean, it's just like, and then
Whoa.
you see it on the ceiling that was created 2,000 years ago. And I was just like, wow, all right, something's coming?
That is so profound. Thank you. Thank you for
I think so. I'm so excited. So, so I call this, well, first of all, this art is by Joffre Boschart, and he's made amazing art, especially he has great astrological art with the constellations and the signs. But 13 to 15 degrees of Cancer, I call the Great Mother Womb Portal. So it's about July 4th through 7th for the sun to move through, but Jupiter will be moving through it, in August. And it's like very profound because Sirius is there. Canopus is there, which is the second brightest star. Thema Mundi, ascendant moon, as I mentioned, Jupiter exaltation degree. The black sun is there. The aphelion is there. And this is like this amazing mother womb portal part of the sky. And again, the Jupiter, Venus, Sirius conjunction will be all here in August.
wow.
And then this is one last piece of art. This is my favorite. Well, there's a lot of paintings, but this is definitely like my top three. This is by Nicholas Roerich, and it's called The Mother of the World. And she is the great mother. She's veiled. So remember, there was that veiled association with a star in Cancer. Often the full radiance of the divine feminine is veiled because it is so massive it would blind us, they say. You see here, this is the Big Dipper. Big Dipper always points to Arcturus. Here is Orion's belt. Orion's belt always points to Sirius.
Yep.
And she is Sirius. And, I love that. I can just look at this art and like go into states of ecstasy. This is a picture I took of the middle pyramid of Giza, my favorite one. And it might be hard to see, but that's Orion's belt above. And there's Sirius over there. As a child, I would always look for Sirius. It would be the first star I would try and seek out. And it's always been meaningful to me. So this is my last slide, and then I'll take it down and we can chat more. But this is one of my favorite images of Sirius. I couldn't find who captured it because it used to be on space, sky,
Earth sky.
Earth sky, but then they removed it. So I don't know. I can't find the name of the person, but anyhow, Sirius is the rainbow star. And in a couple of these images I showed you, you could see there's a lot of colors of light that kind of bounce off rainbow like. And even if you take a video of Sirius, you can see it dancing and it'll change colors. It's like amazing. I actually have a video of it. I think I showed the video on the masterclass. But to me, it's the rainbow star. It's, connected to the rainbow children that are here and coming in. It's connected to the rainbow people, all the colors, all the skin colors of all of us on the planet, all the chakras. And it's a very benevolent star that is in the most profoundly positive position it can possibly be this year. And it's a profound time. So I just recommend using that portal in August wisely. Travel to sacred sites, study mystical teachings, deepen into meditation, open your channel, open to the Great Mother and the Divine Feminine. Work with your dreams, commune with the stars, bring the light through your crown, anchor it into your root, and ground it into the earth. Remember your light, embody your light, and then be the light that you wish to see in the world. So may it be.
Yes.
So,
And also go sit with Sirius because
yeah.
Sirius is in the evening sky right now, so you can see Sirius.
But yeah, in August, you'll only be able to see Sirius if you go out and look east and are in a really good
Or
place,
sunrise. Yeah,
and find it based on your location. And
right.
you have to have good eyes and good conditions to see it when it first will appear, but it is definitely out at night. I took pictures of it last night with the full moon. It was so pretty.
Yeah, this idea that whatever it is that we might think it might mean, it
Mhm.
might mean something completely different to you. So go get
Yes.
your own direct transmission from Sirius. And this full moon, of course, went by Sirius prior.
Yep. Yeah.
Then Jupiter's going to go by, and then I mean the full moon in January. I should probably say that because this won't be
Oh yeah.
really into January, but Yeah.
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 Yeah, we're talking about the January 13th full moon. We're
Yeah.
recording the day after.
The day after. Yeah. So we're still in the energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. I didn't know some of those things, Harmony. I am just I'm having this thought like when I think about all this going on in 2025 and it is massive off the charts, rare,
Yeah.
rare, rare events. And then
Yes.
we look at what you just brought in of the whole thing with Jupiter and Sirius and Venus and the whole alignments and all of that being done 2000 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, and like they knew, or did it happen 2000 years ago? We don't know necessarily, but
Yeah. Well,
wow.
there's different ideas too about that ceiling of Dendera. So they generally say that it's supposed to represent an eclipse that happened in a 51 BC, but there are some studies that actually say it represents the sky in 3200 BC. And that is of unique interest to me. I was like, oh, I need to learn more about that. I've just learned that recently because I'm just constantly studying the Egyptian stuff. I love
Isn't
Egypt.
it 3200 BC, like August 13th, 3200 BC? I could be wrong on the date. Maybe it's 1301 or I don't know, 3101 or something. But that there was something connected to the Mayan calendar on that date.
Oh.
I have some information about that. I'll send it to you. But yeah, there's something more going on. August 13th just really caught my attention as
Well,
well.
and 3200 is like 5,000-ish years ago. And that's the time when we start seeing the shift of the infiltration of more patriarchal understanding.
Yeah.
That's also when all the first writing crops up
Yeah.
all over the world writing magically,
Right.
and it's like, how did that all happen all at once, and so 3200 is BC
BC. Yeah.
is a significant time. And yeah, it probably is. I have studied Mayan some, but not as much as I study the Egyptian, the Arabic, the Mesopotamian, the
Right.
Sumerian. I'm like really into that whole Fertile Crescent area. Yeah, I like to study it. So.
Yeah. So I mean, with the whole planet, there were ancient cultures that were having connections with these different, like, I don't know, ages or things that were happening, that kind of thing. And I just remember something about that. So I will look that up and I will send it to you so that you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was so good. Thank you so much. So you have mentioned your free gift. Do you want to say anything more about it
Well,
before?
there's actually two. So at first I was giving the master class on Sirius, but then I thought I was going to be bringing some of those slides in, and I didn't want to like give something that I sort of partially taught. So then I changed it to the Age of Aquarius, but now I'm just doing both. So it's two master classes. They're like 2 hours long, maybe 2.5. One is on the ages and the Age of Aquarius, and actually why, from my perspective, but also the ancient way of calculating ages, we are in the Age of Aquarius and have been since the 1500s. And then Sirius is all about Sirius, and I talk about it through the different cultures, Hawaiian, Egyptian, whatever. It's a whole download on Sirius. Good to prepare for
Right.
August.
Yeah, like who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah,
Because it's like taking in this kind of information, then going out and having your own direct connection with Sirius.
yeah,
It's like you have the background, the history, all that. Oh, so good.
yeah,
So that could really help people tune in and hey, wish upon the star wishing for a new world, a new way of being, a new experience of greater love and compassion and kindness
yeah.
that we get to all live in. So, uh,
Yes. So may it be.
and so it is. All right. Thank you, Harmony. Thank you so much.
Thank
This has
you.
been so great. Bye.
Bye.